Okay, so today we're going to deep dive into something pretty unique. You sent this white paper over, and I have to say, the Pledge project, I mean, it's a meme coin, but it's really not like any other meme coin project that I've seen.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. Kind of a bold move trying to combine meme culture with these like old school ideas
Yeah.
or honor and commitment.
It's like they're trying to take, the chaotic world of meme coins and then bridge that gap with
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
timeless value, things that have always kind of resonated with people. So for our listeners who maybe aren't as familiar with this whole meme coin world, essentially the Pledge is a meme coin where holders, they make this public pledge to hold at least 99% of their tokens every single month. It's like a digital pinky swear.
Yeah, and that commitment to holding that's really the core of their whole strategy. I mean, the ideas that it builds trust, right, and potentially that could
Mhm.
really drive up the value.
And speaking of value, they have this really fascinating quote in the white paper. It says, "The value of an asset today is the present value of discounted future cash flows. The discount rate is the meme." Now, I know that might sound a little bit complicated,
Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful, isn't
but
it?
could you break that down for us a little bit?
Sure. So essentially what they're saying is the narrative around an asset like the meme, if you will, that can actually have a huge impact on how people perceive its value. So it's
Right.
not just about like the underlying tech or, the potential for future profits. It's more about the story that people are telling themselves about it.
So it's almost like the meme becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, exactly. And the pledge, they're really banking on that power of memes to,
Yeah.
to create that belief and ultimately drive that value.
And, when we talk about meme power, the source actually outlines 6 dimensions of it. You've got things like broadness of appeal and lasting power, emotional resonance, virality, simplicity, and cohesion. And they even give the pledge kind of a score on each of those, like they're evaluating it based on these different dimensions of meme power.
Right. And of all those, I think they really emphasize cohesion. They believe that the pledge score is really high there because
Yeah.
it's really bringing people together around this shared commitment.
Yeah.
It creates that strong sense of belonging.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. There is something really powerful about being part of a community
Yeah,
where you're not just sharing financial interests, but like actual values.
absolutely. And they're not messing around with that whole community aspect. They're starting with this invite-only group of 900 OG pledgers.
Yeah, and the white paper goes into a lot of detail about, the importance of that initial community. They talk about the strength of the ties within the group and how that's going to be really crucial for building that momentum.
Yeah, think about it. You have 900 people all believe in this project. They're committed to holding their tokens. I mean, that's a powerful force, especially
Mhm.
you know, in crypto, which can be, pretty volatile.
That's true, but wouldn't that level of exclusivity kind of alienate other people who might want to get involved later on?
Yeah, it's definitely a balancing act. I mean, you want to create a sense of scarcity and exclusivity to get those early adopters on board. But look, you also need to think about,
Yeah.
how is this project going to grow beyond that initial group?
So they need to find that sweet spot, right?
Exactly.
Now, the white paper does mention that these OG pledgers, they could kind of become like a leadership group within the broader community, as the project grows and evolves.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's a realistic possibility, or is that just, kind of wishful thinking?
Well, it's an interesting idea. I mean, it could really help with that sense of continuity and,
Right.
ensure that the core values are maintained even as the project, starts to get bigger. But it also comes with some challenges, of course.
Like what kind of challenges?
Well, you have to think about the potential for conflict, right? As the community grows, you're going to have new members coming in. They might have different ideas, different perspectives. So how do you balance that influence of that original group with the need for fresh perspectives and, new energy?
So it's not just about creating a community and
Mm-hmm.
hoping for the best. They need to really think carefully about governance and,
Yeah.
how decisions are going to be made as the project scales.
Exactly. And honestly, that's something we see a lot of crypto projects struggle with.
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of a new project, but it's really important to have that solid plan for the long term. Speaking of plans, let's talk about the tokenomics of the pledge. What's their strategy for creating a value flywheel?
So the idea is to create the system
Yeah.
where higher token prices actually reinforce the value of keeping the pledge. And that in turn attracts more people to the community, which further increases the value. But it's not, just some kind of price pump scheme. Well, they're trying to tap into something deeper, something more psychological. They actually bring up this concept of a Veblen good, which is essentially an item where The demand actually goes up as the price goes up.
Wait, so they're saying a meme coin could become like a luxury good?
Yeah.
Like a digital Birkin bag or something?
Yeah, it's a bold claim for sure. But they argue that the pledge itself, that commitment to holding, that could actually become a status symbol within the community.
So the more expensive the token gets, the more desirable it becomes, because it shows a stronger commitment to the pledge and to the community. It's like a badge of honor.
That's the theory, at least. They believe this Veblen effect could create this positive feedback loop, driving both the demand and the price.
But isn't that a pretty risky bet? I mean, a lot of people are already skeptical of meme coins, and this whole idea that one could become a Veblen good, that just seems like a stretch to me.
It's definitely a contrarian approach. Most meme coins, they rely on hype and speculation to drive value.
Right.
The pledge is trying to introduce this new element, social commitment.
So it's like they're taking this old school concept of honor and applying it to the world of meme coins. But how exactly are they planning to incentivize people to actually keep that pledge?
Well, first of all, there's the 1% rule, which allows pledgers to sell up to 1% of their tokens each month without technically breaking their pledge. So it gives them a little bit of flexibility.
It's kind of like a pressure release valve then.
Exactly. And then there's this public dashboard that tracks pledge adherence.
So it's all transparent out in the open.
Yes, everyone can see who's keeping their pledge and who isn't, so it creates this system of decentralized accountability.
It sounds like they're really relying on social pressure to keep people honest. But is that enough? What if people just decide to break the pledge?
That's the key question, isn't it? They're essentially betting on the power of the community
Yeah.
to enforce the rules.
It's a fascinating experiment. But I gotta say, it does seem pretty risky.
There's definitely no guarantee of success, but the potential rewards, both financial and social, they could be significant.
We've talked a lot about the community and the psychology behind the pledge. But let's dive into the actual tokenomics. How are these tokens distributed initially?
Okay, so 90% of the tokens are distributed for free to those 900 OG pledgers.
So that's a pretty big concentration of tokens in the hands of a relatively small group.
It is, but remember, these OG pledgers are the ones who are really committed. I mean, they're the ones who've made that public pledge to hold.
So they're like the foundation of the community then.
Exactly.
What about the other 10% of tokens?
Those go into a liquidity pool, which is basically there to facilitate trading on decentralized exchanges.
So right from the start, there's a mechanism for people to buy and sell PLEDE tokens.
Yeah, but keep in mind, anyone who buys in after that initial distribution, they're going to have to make that same pledge to hold 99% of their tokens each month if they want to be part of the community.
Interesting. So the community can grow organically, but new members have to buy in and make that same commitment as those original pledgers. Okay, so we've covered the initial launch, but what happens after that? How does the pledge plan to navigate
Yeah.
the crypto market, which can be pretty turbulent at times?
That's a great question. And it leads us to one of the most fascinating aspects of this project, their approach to managing what they call market feedback loops. They seem to be very aware of the challenges that come with both ignoring market forces and becoming too obsessed with price.
That's where things get really interesting. It's like they're walking this tightrope between community building and market dynamics. We should definitely explore that further.
So they acknowledge that, like any other meme coin, the price of PLDG, it's probably going to fluctuate.
Yeah.
But they've tried to design the launch and the mechanics in a way that, kind of mitigates that risk.
So how exactly are they planning to do that? I mean, how do they avoid those crazy ups and downs that you see with a lot of meme coins?
Well, one way is by establishing this sort of minimum utility for the token. So even if the price drops significantly, holding PLD still gives you access to that exclusive community of OG pledgers.
Right.
And that membership, that offers things like networking opportunities. And like we talked about earlier, just that sense of belonging.
It's like a built-in safety net.
Yeah, exactly.
So even if the hype fades and the speculation dies down, there's still inherent value in being a part of that group.
Precisely. And that strong community, that can really act as a buffer against price volatility. It's kind of like a self-reinforcing cycle. The community supports the token and the token supports the community.
But what about people who join later on, those who buy PLDG on the open market? They don't get that OG pledger status, do they?
Right, new pledgers. They wouldn't have access to that initial closed community, but the white paper suggests that as the project grows, those OG pledgers, they could become a trusted council or a leadership group within the broader community.
So even though there's that initial exclusivity, there is this path for newer members. to kind of gain influence and recognition.
Right. It's not just a closed system. And I think that's a smart move because it acknowledges that a project can't stay static. It needs to evolve and adapt as it grows.
And it also addresses that potential problem of those OG pledgers becoming too dominant.
Exactly.
Now the white paper even hints at some potential future benefits of being a pledger. Like they speculate that pledgers could gain this reputation for trustworthiness within the broader crypto space.
Yeah.
It's like a badge of honor that could open up new opportunities.
It all goes back to that idea we were discussing earlier about meme coins representing a new way of thinking about value. It's not just about the price, it's about the social capital associated with holding the token.
That's really fascinating. It's like they're trying to create this new form of social currency, one that's rooted in commitment and integrity, rather than just financial gain. This all sounds incredibly innovative and ambitious. But, we have to talk about the potential downsides, too. Are there any risks associated with this whole PLDG concept?
Well, one potential risk is that the project relies so heavily on social pressure and self-enforcement. So what happens if a large number of pledgers just decide to break their promise?
That's a good point. I mean, they do have that public dashboard that tracks pledge adherence. But like you said earlier, it's ultimately up to each individual to keep their word.
Right. There's no central authority to penalize people who break the pledge.
So it's a system that's built entirely on trust and reputation.
Yeah.
And what happens if that trust erodes? What if the community just loses faith in the project?
Well, that's the risk with any meme coin, really, or any social movement that relies on a shared belief system. There's just no guarantee of success. Now, they do acknowledge this in the white paper, and they emphasize the importance of maintaining that strong community and constantly reinforcing those shared values. But at the end of the day, they are relying on the goodwill and commitment of the participants.
It's a gamble, then. You're basically putting your trust in this decentralized community and hoping that everyone will uphold their end of the bargain. It kind of reminds me of the early days of Dogecoin. Remember when everyone thought it was just a joke? And then it just exploded in popularity.
That's a great analogy. I mean, DOGE proved that meme coins can capture the public's imagination and create real value, seemingly out of thin air. The pledge is hoping to take that a step further by adding this layer of social commitment.
It's like they're trying to transform a meme into a movement.
Yeah.
But is that even possible? Can you really engineer a culture of trust and commitment in the world of crypto, which can be, pretty chaotic at times?
Well, it's certainly a bold experiment. And it raises some fundamental questions about the nature of trust, community, and value in this digital age. Even if the pledge itself doesn't become the next Dogecoin, it's really pushing the boundaries of what's possible with blockchain tech and these community-driven initiatives.
It seems like they're tapping into something deeper than just the financial aspect of crypto. There's this yearning for connection, for belonging, for a sense of shared purpose. Maybe that's what's driving the appeal of these meme coin communities.
That's a great point. People are looking for something to believe in, something to be a part of. And in a world that often feels fragmented and isolating, these online communities can offer this really powerful sense of connection.
But the question is, can that sense of connection translate into real-world value? Can a meme coin built on this foundation of shared values actually create a lasting impact?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It really is.
And it's a question that goes way beyond the world of crypto. It's about the future of community, the evolution of trust, and the search for meaning in a digital age.
The pledge might just be a small experiment in the grand scheme of things.
Okay.
But it's asking some big questions.
And those are the kinds of questions that make this whole space so fascinating to watch.
Yeah, it really does make you think. Like, are we actually seeing the birth of some kind of new social contract here? One that's, built on the transparency of blockchain and driven by shared values.
Well, the pledge is certainly aiming for that. I mean, they're not just building a token. They're trying to cultivate a whole culture around it, a culture that prioritizes commitment and transparency and that, old-fashioned idea of keeping your word.
And it all comes back to that simple yet powerful statement.
Yeah.
I will not sell more than 1% of my PLD each month. It's almost like a creed or something.
But it's a public declaration of their belief in the project and their willingness to, back it up with action.
And that public aspect is really important. It's not just a private thought or intention. It's a commitment that's made visible to the entire community.
Yeah.
And that kind of transparency, that can be really powerful.
Absolutely. I mean, it can inspire others to join the movement, and it can reinforce that shared belief system.
The white paper even suggests that. This could become a model for other projects. Like imagine a world where meme coins aren't just driven by hype and speculation, but they're actually backed by real-world commitments and actions.
That's a really compelling vision. It challenges us to think differently about the role of memes in society.
Yeah.
I mean, if a meme can convince people to invest in a digital currency, why couldn't it also inspire them to engage in, positive social actions?
Right. We tend to think of memes as being fleeting and frivolous.
Right.
But what if they could be harnessed for good? To encourage things like charitable giving or promote environmental awareness, maybe even foster political engagement.
That's the really exciting possibility here. We could be witnessing the evolution of the meme from something that's purely for entertainment to a tool for social good. It suggests that the internet which is often criticized for its negativity and superficiality, could actually become a force for positive change.
So is the pledge just a clever meme coin? Or is it something more? Could this model actually work, this idea of blending meme culture with these traditional values? What do you think? And what do you think out there listening? We'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
In a world where attention is becoming increasingly valuable, could meme coins like the pledge become the new social contracts? It's definitely something to think about.